Barbara has been the provincial coordinator for POGO's SAFT program, an academic and vocational counseling program for survivors of pediatric cancer. And for those of you who don't know, POGO is a pediatric oncology group of Ontario. And she's been involved with SAFT for the past 7 years. Prior to POGO, Barbara worked more than 20 years at George Brown College, where she was a professor and then chair in the Access Department, and later Associate Dean in the School of School of Community Services and Health Sciences. Please welcome Barbara.
Good afternoon. So I'm just going to give a little bit of background about what SAVT is. It's such a sort of weird title. So it's a Successful Academic and Vocational Transition Initiative. So SAVT for short. And I know our fundraising folks are always asking us, when are you going to change that title? Because it's a bit of a mouthful when they have to talk to people about our program. But SAVT, we remain. And just to let you know that it was established in, I'm talking and not pressing. It was established in 2002, sort of a collaboration between Sick Kids, the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, and George Brown College was collaborating there in terms of providing a counselor. So there's only one person at the time of SAVT's beginning. So what we do is we work with survivors of pediatric cancer and brain tumors, anyone from 16 years old on up, no age limit after 16, okay? And so most of our survivors are coming from, in the Toronto area, from Sick Kids and from Princess Margaret Hospital, but we do have other locations in Ontario, mainly in Ottawa, and the Ottawa person works out of Kingston also. As well, we have a person located in London, and she works sort of the London and Windsor area. Okay? And our work is sort of related to those youth who are in grades 10 to 12, who are sort of determining what it is they're going to do after high school. And we also work with those who are out of high school and who are needing to determine what they're going to be doing. Maybe they're going on to employment. And we may have those survivors who are actually employed and need to be re-employed because their current employment is no longer viable. We work individually with all our clients, so no one client has the same sort of case study. We get all kinds of clients, and each one has an individual plan. Although we have some things that we sort of talk about generally, each person will access services individually. So I'm going to talk about sort of what happens when someone is referred to SAVT. If the goal is post-secondary education, we may get, we don't call people patients, we call them clients, because this is aftercare and they're no longer in treatment when they're referred to us. So they may need to identify their interests, because they may come to us thinking, don't know what I want to do. So we work with them trying to identify their interests. We have to figure out what people are doing in high school. And if they have a goal that they establish, we need to determine if indeed they are going to be taking the right courses in order to obtain that goal. We work in tandem with guidance counselors if that's applicable. And we make sure that all of our clients are taking the correct courses in order to be aligned with their post-secondary goal. So because it's kind of, there's all kind of courses that people can take, that students can take in high school, Some of you probably already know this, but I'll just go briefly through it. So grades 9 and 10, there are a series of courses that people could take. They could be in an academic stream or an applied stream, or open courses, which are sort of a mix. So it's important that generally around grade 9, people are not really thinking about what they want to do. So it's generally in around grade 10 where those more serious choices have to be made. If, however, students are already in sort of an academic stream, it's most likely that they're going to continue on in that. And if they're in an applied stream, it's most likely that the courses that are chosen later are within that stream, although I can tell you that we do help people to make changes if that is applicable. So in grades 11 and 12, if a goal is for university, then it's really important to make sure that all students are taking those university prep courses, because at least 6 credits are required in the university preparation stream to go on to university. If those requirements are not met, it may take a little longer time to finish high school. College preparation courses, I say college prep courses are not as demanding in terms of choosing a particular course. So college prep courses, as long as you have English for sure, English is sort of the main one. After that, math may be a requirement, although most likely for a number of our clients, math is not exactly the subject that they're going to be pursuing for any great length of time. And there are courses, certainly in colleges, that do not have a math grade 12 requirement. But certainly the grade English is the important one. For the workplace preparation courses, I'm going to talk a little bit about workplace prep in the second part of the talk when I referred to employment goals, because there are some choices there that students can make in terms of preparing for the workforce. So when applying to college or university, there are some things that you kind of need to have in mind when you're doing that, okay? So obviously, the number one would be selecting programs. But there can be, for some students, there's sort of a diverse choice. Maybe they're thinking, oh, I really like computers, and yeah, but I really like working with kids. So the role of a counselor in that situation is figuring out which of those two routes is the most appropriate for that person, and given what they're going to be taking in high school and what their interests are. Because maybe computers can be something that is done sort of as an outside thing, and working with children may be the goal that's most appropriate in terms of being successful in a college program. As well as thinking about programs, it's important to find out from our clients whether they want to attend college or university in a city close to home, or a small institution. And these are all important things, especially if they're going to be going to a place outside of where they live, where they're going to be in residence. Really important to make sure that they're comfortable with the choice of institution in terms of size and location, etc. One thing I wanted to mention was some of our students may not apply, some of our clients rather, may not apply to post-secondary institutions right away from high school. They may take some time out. And it is possible to apply as a mature student if the requirements are met. So for college, that's basically anyone 19 years and who has been out of high school for 1 year. So just a little scenario, if someone has been in a workplace preparation course, finished high school, is working in a restaurant, let's say, and they decide, I really want to go to college to get more qualifications for working in the hospitality field. So they come back, they've been a year out of school, they can apply as a mature student to go to a college program. The only thing that I need to mention here, though, is if they do not have the academic requirements, say their English wasn't quite good enough, they may be required to do an assessment in the English and or math for their program of choice. And that's something to really be considered, because that might be a barrier to them pursuing further education. With university, mature student status is anyone 21 years old and older and a couple of years out of school. Okay. Some of the negotiations that have to go on with some of our clients is that for quite a number of our clients, they need to have accommodations. They most likely have had an IEP in high school. So those accommodations probably need to go on to the post-secondary level. So it's really important to stress the linkage with the services that will be available to them in their post-secondary institution. The most important document in this case will be the neuropsychological assessment. So those assessments will have recommendations and suggestions for how the student can be helped within the post-secondary institution. That's the single most important document after a high school transcript. And then once you have that document in hand, you can then make sure that the student goes to the services once they've chosen their institution and been accepted. They go to that service and register. It's also important to know that they have to self-identify. They're now going to a post-secondary institution, so they need to self-identify. No one's going to come up to them and say, "Oh, I see you had an IEP. Do you want our service?" You have to ensure that they will register with the service and get the help they need. And so they will need that assessment to negotiate for the accommodations that they will receive in the post-secondary institution. Another important aspect of applying to university is financial assistance. And again, some of our clients may be already receiving ODSP. They can still receive ODSP while attending a post-secondary institution, and most likely will be eligible for OSAP, the Ontario Student Assistance Program. And so the ODSP will continue to cover the living expenses, and the OSAP will cover the school expenses, tuition, books, those kinds of things. As well, there may be some expenses that will be covered. For example, if a laptop is needed, that may well be covered as well. So I'm going to move on now to employment and if a client's goal is employment, because quite a number of our clients are not going on to post-secondary. They're going on to employment, maybe part-time employment or full-time employment. And it's important to make sure that they have all the tools and their goals in place for doing that, for following that path. So some of the ways that students can build their experience in high school are through work experience programs, school-to-work transitions, cooperative education, or OYAP, the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, Could be summer jobs for youth. I'll talk a little bit about some of those programs, and or volunteering. So I'll just go through a couple of the areas. So for cooperative education, it could be a 1 or 2 semester program where the student is in a job placement. There's lots and can earn a high school credit, may even earn more than 1 high school credit. For each placement, though, there is a pre-course interview, and the placement is arranged by the school, and along with a personalized learning plan. What do they hope to achieve on the job? And then followed by assessment and evaluation, and then in-school sessions to sort of augment the learning that they are doing on the job. The OYAP is an interesting program for those who have some thought of going into skilled trades. And OYAP could start in grade 11. Not all high schools have Ontario Youth OYAP. I'm going to call it OYAP. Not all schools have that, but quite a number do. And so it's starting in grade 11, and you need to be 16 years of age or old. Well, 16 years of age is sort of the prime time to join that program. And it would be done through either the guidance counselor or the OYAP coordinator if the school has one. And again, it is geared towards a trade. So if a student wanted to work in the building trades, this might be a really great way to start, and also to find out if it really is what you want to do. Okay. Summer jobs for youth. The Ontario government has a program, and every summer students can apply for jobs. Actually, need to apply a little bit before the summer, and the jobs vary. Some organizations could be sort of small offices, or it could be a larger organization. It's just so that a student can get some experience in employment, and they are paid an hourly wage. Volunteering, of course, we have a great volunteer association here in Toronto, and I'm sure that lots of towns in Ontario have volunteer organizations that could work for students if they're looking for a place to practice and to sort of work in the community. So one of the things when I'm working with clients and they're saying, well, how do I find a job? In this order, this is the way of finding work. So the first way is applying directly to employers, and most people think, oh, well, of course. But also after that comes asking family or friends and contacts. They know somebody, and that's a way into an employment place. And that is the second most popular way of finding work. You could respond to ads, or use an employment agency, or go to a government employment center. Descending order in terms of where the people find their jobs. Again, preparing for employment. If someone doesn't really know what they want to do, it is important to do sort of an inventory and figuring out what their interests are. So generally, certainly when we're faced with clients who go, I don't know what I want to do, we'll most likely talk to them about their interests, but then later probably follow that up with an interest inventory. And, as well, once we've found out those interests, we'll talk about considering apprenticeship, for example, if they really like to do hands-on kind of work. And we'll sort of guide them along that process. One of the ways that we also look for work is using I'm well behind here. Using the knock codes. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the knock codes, but it's actually a really good resource in terms of listing jobs, and then you click on any one of those entries, and it will have all of the requirements for that job. So they're called the NOC codes, and this is Government of Canada website. It's a pretty good resource because it's pretty comprehensive with any number of jobs listed, and it's a really good way of figuring out, sort of getting some idea about what a person might want to do. Gives them an idea for what they're going to need to do the job, what they can expect on the job, and where they might find those kinds of jobs. Apprenticeship, as I talked about the OYAP, I'll just say that this is a really great way for people to get that hands-on experience. There is, however, a requirement that it's a kind of a 2 or 3 step process, because first an employer needs to be found willing to take on someone as an apprentice. Once that person is found, once that company is found, then there is a registration process, because it's through the Ministry of Training, Colleges and University in Ontario, MTCU. There has to be a connection there. And then after that, the closest institution that offers training in that, to support that on-the-job training. So all 3 things have to sort of gel. So it is a kind of a cumbersome process, if you will, but it is a rewarding one if a client can find an employer to take them on, because it's really, they do work on the job and then also work in the classroom, sort of to augment the skills learned on the job. I'm going to skip writing a resume because I'm looking around here and I'm thinking probably everybody knows how to write a resume, but I will just say that it is important to talk about employability skills, such as communication skills, leadership skills, and logical thinking, those kinds of things. It is important to mention all of those skills while writing up the resume. And of course, mentioning the good work habits, teamwork, the old teamwork, and reliability, as well as having initiative. So when I'm working with my clients, I try to get all of that stuff in there without it being too busy and too self-promoting, because that's the other thing. You don't want to sound like you walk on water. And you want to kind of make sure that your resume sounds realistic. Okay. Along with the resume comes a cover letter. Now, I know that a lot of job ads could be online, and it could be through Workopolis or a website like that. So Workopolis has its own kind of a template in terms of writing the resume, and so you kind of forced into that format. Maybe, because there are different ways of writing the resume: chronological, which is sort of dates of when you were working, and or you could do sort of more talking about just skills. If you don't have a lot of work experience, it could be sort of a combination of some dates as well as some experiences. But your cover letter should indicate what you're applying for, obviously, and the skills that you have that relate to the job. I've listed some websites here, and I think these notes are going to be available too, so I'm just not going to go through that. I did want to talk a little bit about ODSP and employment. You're allowed to, you're still eligible for ODSP if you work. It's just a matter of figuring out where the line is, where your ODSP may be cut if you work too many hours or make too much money. That should happen, right? So your ODSP may be adjusted accordingly. And Along with ODSP, there are programs such as the Employment Supports Program, which is there to help those finding a job if there is a disability needing to be taken into account. And I know a number of small communities in Ontario have some good programs that are available for those with disabilities and who are seeking employment, and they have some pre-employment programs. Just a word about, because everybody talks about, well, should employers accommodate? It is mandated that in Ontario that people with disabilities should be accommodated in the workplace. And the duty to accommodate falls under the principles of accommodations in the Ontario Human Rights Code. Okay. Do want to mention, though, that if there is a particular situation where someone is in a workplace and they are applying for a job and they didn't get the job and they feel that they may have been discriminated against, it could be, there may be a case made by the employer to say that these are the skills that I require for this job, and they're deeming that that person may not be eligible for that job. But sort of the onus is on the employer to prove that, and the onus is on the employer to try to accommodate people with disabilities. Okay. The other important topic that people wonder about that I see is when to disclose. And it's really interesting because yesterday I was just talking to somebody who has been an employer and has employed quite a number of people. And their particular take on it was that it's important to disclose right up front because that puts the onus on the employer. If you're saying, you know, I have this disability, I just wanted to let you know, and I may need some accommodations, and you might list what they might be. It might be around scheduling, work hours, and that kind of thing due to fatigue or some issue like that. The onus is then on the employer to try to provide that, because if it comes up at a later stage, if the person doesn't disclose, and then later it becomes a problem, they're having problems keeping up at work, you then have to get someone in, like an advocate or a mediator, in to try to work out the issues. So I think what this employer was saying, it's a good idea to disclose if you feel comfortable doing that right up front, so that the onus is then on the employer to make sure that those requirements are met. Okay. Again, you'll be getting these notes or this presentation. So these are just some of the agencies that we certainly work with and refer to within our organization, helping those with disabilities. Certainly our role is not to work directly with employers. Our role is really face-to-face with the client, and we seek out help and referrals to other organizations. So in answer to your question, we don't personally, but there are organizations that would help. I think March of Dimes is sort of the one that comes to mind, that works with people with disabilities, and they have a pre-employment program there that would sort of, they'd work with the client to try to find appropriate employment. Thank you.